Okay, this is an educational video about Spyder Keys. Now, this relates only to 2008 to 2013 all model Spyders. 14 and above use a different chip system. So let me explain what that is. These are called chipped keys. They have a little microchip in them. And on your key switch on your Spyder, there is a coil around the key that energizes by the ECM and reads the chip in the key. By the way, you should make sure your insurance company knows you have security keys like this because you can get a discount on your insurance. All right, pardon me. So this is all about Spyder keys and the different ways you can get extra keys, or if you lose one key, at least clone another key or add more keys. So there's two ways to do it. The BRP way, which I'll explain, and clone key way. So the BRP way is the dealer has this master key. All right, this master key allows you to program keys to your Spyder. Now let me explain this fully. These are the keys don't get programmed themselves. There's an ID in the chip that is supplied by BRP when you buy blanks. By the way, here's what a blank looks like. You notice there's no teeth in it, right? So here's what a regular key looks like. It's got teeth, right? It's been cut. So by the way, I've got a video explaining how to use the master key and program keys to your Spyder. So the way it works is, with using the master key, these IDs get added to your ECM on the Spyder. You're not actually programming something into these keys, and that's the big difference between cloning. All right, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So the way, if you want real BRP keys, list price on these, and I'll post in this video, I'll list the part numbers on an on-screen little text display for these keys. Right now they are retailing for 49 bucks basically, although you can find them on eBay. Usually someone's selling them. Found one today myself for 30 bucks on eBay. Another one was like 35 or 39. So they're not cheap, which actually, you know, I hate to bang BRP, but total rip-off. They must be making like 4,000% markup on these keys, but whatever. The bottom line is they use a T5 chip that is already programmed from BRP, hard programmed from BRP. The ID in the chip cannot be changed. Use a master key to add keys or program keys to the Spyder's computer system on the Spyder, which is called the ECM. All right, so if you want official BRP keys, whoops, a little bit of wind here. If you want official BRP keys, that's what you do. You go buy a BRP key, and again, I'll list the part numbers, and then you go to a dealer who has a master key, or you can buy the master key, but, you know, kind of a waste of money just if you're going to buy it yourself. And I'll list the part number for the master key, but it's hard to find, just FYI. You got to probably get it direct from BRP. All right, now, again, I said these are T5 chips, so let's talk about doing it on the cheap. So instead of spending $49 list for an actual BRP key, which, by the way, you know, fit the cover thing that they give you that snaps in and can go on your key ring. Notice there's no hole in the key. You know, you can also buy that, and I'll list that part number as well. So if you really want to be cool and have the BRP keys, then you go to the dealer, you get them to use the master key to do it. Now there's another way to do it, and that's called key cloning. So let me talk about that. JMA makes these clonable keys, and by the way, I didn't buy this from their website. I bought this, and I'll list this as well. But the part number is ZD23RT5. RW means rewritable, but the actual key is TP05ZA-9.P. All right. So if you're going to Google search where to buy the key, search that number first, not this, because this is like a JMA. This part number will give you other alternatives. So let me show you what that is. If you get one of these, there's a little hole. It's hard to see, and if you poke up a rod in there. One second. If you poke a rod in that hole like this, it will push the chip out. Let me show you what's in these keys. This is called a T5 chip. All right, that is what the coil in the ignition reads. Now these JMA keys are programmable. What that means is you can take it to someplace and they can read the ID of the key that you give them. You must give them one good key from your Spyder, and they can then write it to this little chip that's inside this key. All right, so let me put that aside for a minute. So let me talk about my experience. So getting the BRP key, so I'm just going to say my experience. Now I dealt strictly with Ace hardware on this. So I got some blanks, and when I say blanks, that means no teeth. And I bought some blanks thanks to Cruiser Joe for selling me both the master and 2 blanks. And I took my real key from my Spyder, and I went to Ace Hardware. Now on Saturday, I got a lady who said, oh yeah, I can cut them, and she cut them, put them in the machine, no problem, and cut me 2 more keys. All was good. Now remember, you're not going to clone this. This is a hard-coded key. They can't write to it, all right? So I did bring one of these JMA keys to her at the same time, and she had a problem getting it in the vise because of the plastic is a lot closer. If you look at a BRP key, where the indent starts here and the teeth, the plastic's a lot farther. So when she tried to went to go cut this key, she said she couldn't do it because the plastic was a lot closer to this first step. All right, so however, and she also said she can't clone it. And I said, why not? Can't you stick this key in and read it and clone it? So this was an older lady, and she was really good at cutting, which I'll explain in a minute, but she wasn't that great at the software. So she said, no, you got to tell me what model to plug into the software. And I'm going to tell you what model here in a minute. Actually, I'm going to post it as text. But so she couldn't clone it either. And when she said she couldn't cut it, I left. So next day, I bought 2 of these. So I took one of these keys, and as you'll see, what I did is I took a Dremel, and right at this arc, I cut the plastic away with a cutting disc, which then made the plastic to key length the same as the BRP key. Now, she said she couldn't cut this because she couldn't get a good grip on the key with the plastic being very close to the end. Now that I cut it, I decided, okay, I'll go back to Ace and have them cut it, and then I'll find somewhere else to clone it. Well, this is my story. So I went to Ace, totally different girl. This was a young girl, and she completely knew how to read the software. So I started talking to her, and I said, hey, I want to clone the chip. And I said, since it isn't in your computer, Can-Am Spyder's not in your computer, I said, I was told to use it's a Honda. Basically, let me back up a minute. The T5 chip in these keys is actually quite old. No car that I could find online has used the T5 chip since 2006. But it was a very popular chip on Hondas, Acuras, a few Fiats, and a few other things. So basically I said, okay, I want you to clone the chip, and it's a Honda, I'll post it, I can't remember off the top of my head, 2006, or an Acura MDX 2005. Anyway, she said, hey, no problem, I can stick the key in and just read it, the original key. And I'm like, really? The lady on Saturday morning said, no, you had to tell her the car or the model. And she said, no, you can stick the key in and read it. So she stuck my key in, read it, and then programmed my chip. No problem. If you go to Ace Hardware and they tell you got to tell them what model, and they don't know how to read the key and see what it comes up as, apparently some don't. The older lady that cut my key did not know that the machine could do that. She needed a model so she could use the menus in a pull down. The girl on Sunday said, no, we can just read the key and find out what it is. And she did. But anyway, I'm going to post on text what if they don't know how to read the key and are telling you you need to have a certain model. I'm going to tell you what that is in text here. Anyway, so the girl did it. Now, as you see, I cut this plastic back, and then I told this new girl, I said, the lady yesterday said she couldn't grip onto the key well enough with this plastic, so I trimmed it. Well, this new girl, while she knew the software, was not very good at using the machine. So let me explain the machine at Ace Hardware. By the way, let me back up. Any Ace Hardware you go to, you want to make sure they have the C30 machine for cloning the chip. If they have the C30, trust me, they can clone it, because I had it done today. So they need to have that machine for cloning the chip and writing the ID into this. All right, so I dremeled this off, took it back, and sure as heck, different lady today. As I said, Sunday, she knew how to clone the chip, no issue, and it cloned, and it does work. But she had trouble using the key. Now, the older lady obviously was trained better and knew how to use the vise that grabs your original key and grabs the blank and held it well. Now, their machine has two modes. Manual mode, where you actually follow the original key and cut the blank, and automatic mode. So this young girl, who acted like she knew what she was doing, what she ultimately complained about was the vise that grabs the key has to grab below this groove onto the little teeth to hold the original key and hold the blank. So the first time they cut the blank, plenty to hold on to, but then when they turn the key over, they're going to wind up with only this little bit of material to hold the blank, and she wound up screwing up this key. I actually fixed it with a file, but as you see, it's kind of screwed up on the way it was cut, and it jumped out of the machine and bent it. So all I'm saying is, when you go to Ace, two issues. One, they may not know how to read your key and program the chip. So you got to tell them it's a Honda or an Acura MDX 2005, and then they'll be able to do it. So cloning the chip is easy. Then make sure you get someone who's a little experienced on the machine and does it manually, not in auto. Auto is, they put the two keys in and they press a button and the machine cuts it itself. Well, when she hit auto, it jumped out of the machine. The older lady that did my keys yesterday did it manually. Anyway, so, you know, it's a hit and miss at Ace Hardware depending on who you get. Ultimately, I got my key programmed, and I did get it cut, but I had to come home and fix it with a file. It was going in very hard, and she bent it, so I had to hammer it flat and apologize and sent me back. They don't have blanks at Ace. So then finally, all of this work, 2 keys cut on Saturday, and this key cut, all was free. If you don't buy a blank from them, it seems, at least my Ace, that they were free to doing it, cloning and doing the cut for free. Your Ace may vary. But again, I'm just going to tell you, 100%, if the Ace has the C30 cloning chip machine and someone who knows what they're doing with cutting keys, you can get it done at Ace Hardware. Now, your key, my key, as you see, has, let me talk about how the keys work. This is a 6-wafer, double-side wafer system. So I'm going to show you. Let's see if I can see this. There's wafer 1, or tumbler, whatever you want to call them. 1, 2, 3, since these two are the same. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, your key may have longer teeth here. Hopefully, if yours does, then you won't get an amateur have a problem putting it in the vise, because they have to put it in the vise below this groove. Let me show you a blank. It's got a lot of meat on it. When they put it in the vise to hold the blank, no problem. But once they've cut one side and turn it over and put it in against this groove to hold the blank, and you only have a little bit of teeth to hold on to, it could be problems. Now, the lady on Saturday, and I know this is getting a little long-winded, who told me with this blank, this plastic was in the way from her getting enough grab on the key, so she couldn't cut it. Once I cut the plastic, the other girl, I think, was less talented. Had I taken this key where I dremeled off the extra plastic to the older lady, I think she'd have had no problem cutting it. So again, experience at Ace Hardware with all this. Key cutting is key. You got to get someone who knows what they're doing. I mean, you might, if you go to Ace and the person's like reluctant to cut it due to your key shape, maybe take it to a locksmith. But I guarantee you Ace has the equipment to program the chip inside. They may tell you they don't. You just got to tell them. If they've got a C30, you got to tell them it's a Honda. Again, I'll post a text. Or Acura MDX 2005, 2006. Honda, it's a, I forget the name, but it's 2003 through 2006. But they can do it. So I'm going to post that text, and at least you can get yourself cloned. Anyway, so to close off, understand the difference between hard-coded BRP IDs and you needing a master key to add them to the computer on your Spyder versus taking a good working key and going to a place that can read it, program it to a chip, thus giving you a key. So let me just summarize with this. The BRP keys are $49 list. Sometimes you can find them on eBay cheaper. These keys I paid $7.95 for plus shipping. Certainly they're not as pretty. They do have a hole. I personally don't like the looks of them. They're bluish color, and you know, the shape isn't just right. But make a good emergency key to stash somewhere. Then you get the chip cloned, and you're good to go. So on the cheap side, you can buy this key for $8 plus shipping. Comes to about 12, I think. And go to Ace and get it all. Get the chip copied, and then if they can cut it, or go to a locksmith and get it cut. Again, I got my 2 keys cut, plus this clonable key cloned and cut, all for free at Ace. Your Ace may vary. Anyway, those are the facts about different Spyder keys. Again, from 2008 to 2013. From 2014 on, it's a totally different system. Hope this was helpful, and this was the facts on Spyder keys.